Hello there, Riderflex Nation. Steve Urban here with more career advice and job interviewing tips for you. And as a quick reminder, if you enjoy our podcast, please remember to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes. And on today's podcast, when the time comes for the original founders of a company to back away or retire or remove themselves from the day-to-day. It usually happens for just about every founder. Not all the time, but most of the time, the original founders of a company, the company outgrows their skill set, or they've just run out of juice because they've had it for so long and they've gotten older or whatever. At some point, for most companies, the original founders need to move out of the way and let somebody else take over. I've seen it my whole career. I know many of you listening to this podcast know what I'm talking about. The problem is the original founders are usually, there's so much pride and they're so emotionally attached to what they've built. It's very difficult for them to let go. So how do you deal with that, right? Let's say you're an executive in a company and the founders they just need to get out of your way so you can run the business. How do you deal with that? How do you have these conversations? Remember, it's super emotional for most founders. They killed themselves to start the brand in the beginning, right? They've sacrificed so much. They finally got it going. The years have passed by now. It's their baby. So how do you get them to let go? Here's my tip. I truly believe you sell it by showing them how their lives will improve, not only emotionally and personally, but also financially. Tie it to both. Share with them how they'll have more time to do things with their family, more time to go on vacations, more time to go fly fishing if that's what they like to do. Tie it to their personal lives. Show them how they'll be happier and they'll have more time for their hobbies, number one. And then the other piece is tie it to some finances, right? Show them how if certain executives are allowed to have more control, that numbers will improve in certain areas and their dividends, their annual distributions, will increase and they'll make more money, right? Just show them how they're going to make more money in the long run, whether it's increasing the overall volume and profits so their annual distributions are bigger, or maybe you and the executives help take the company to a sale, to a transaction of some kind, and there's a big payout for the founders, whatever it might be, but show them how their lives are going to improve on the financial side as well. If you'll sell it in both of those ways and have a heart-to-heart with original founders, usually, eventually, you'll be able to talk them into backing away. When they don't, I think most of us listening to this podcast, we all know what happens, right? The old saying, the founders can't get out of their own way, right? They haven't allowed other people to take the company to the next level. And usually that means the company stalls out and never really grows and it doesn't, only goes so far. So I know many of you have had that challenge. You've been faced with that as you've worked with original founders. That's my tip on talking them into, removing themselves or distancing themselves from the business. And there is your Riderflex tip of the day. We truly hope you find our material helpful and entertaining. And while our podcast can be heard across most platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud, you can become a supporter of this podcast by visiting our show on the platform Anchor FM. That's anchor.fm/Riderflex. You can also send us your questions or suggested topics for future episodes to the email address podcast@riderflex.com, or drop us a voicemail at 888-964-5876, extension 710. Visit riderflex.com to learn more about us. Thanks so much for listening, folks, and have a great day.